Hello everyone, Brandon here, and one of the things I want to do on this channel is speak about depression and mental illness, but in order to do so, I feel like you need to know where I'm coming from and what my story is. So this video is going to be the story of how I went from an atheist to being a Christian. Yes, I was an atheist. By 15 or 16 years old, I had become an atheist, and it's the typical thing of, with all the things that are happening in the world and things that have happened to people that I knew, I didn't think that God could exist in a world like that. So, I was an atheist for about 6 or 7 years. When I was 21 years old, I was going through the worst year of my life at that time. And it was just a series of events, one after the other. I lost a close relative. I got into a serious car accident. I broke up with my girlfriend at the time. There were numerous family issues. My mother got really sick. I was super stressed out with 4th year and applying for grad school. And everything just combined together was way too much for me to handle, and I just collapsed. I broke down. And that was the first time in my life that I've ever experienced like real severe depression. I told my best friends about this, Tian and Nadia, a few months later. And Tian invited me to go to a camp with her. And I thought it'd be a good idea for me to have sort of a break, a little bit of vacation. We finished 4th year, so it'd be a good way to celebrate. It wasn't until a week prior that I discovered that this camp was a Bible camp. Now, when I found that out, I was a bit skeptical. Even though I was an atheist, I've always been very open-minded and very respectful of other people's beliefs. Most of my friends are Christian, whether it's Catholic or Pentecostal or something. And even so, I was still very cautious about going. Really what put me over the edge was Tian telling me that she wanted me to come because she needed me there for support, because she was going through something in her life. And I felt like I needed to be there for my best friend, for one of my best friends. And so I decided to go. This was the first time in my life that I experienced Bible study and worship. And I remember my gut and first reaction to these things were, these people are crazy, they're out of their minds, they have no idea what they're doing, this is like some cult, what am I doing here, this is crazy, right? And every day after our Bible study, I would have these very long discussions with him. We'd speak for like an hour at least, talking about what we learned that day. And I would be refuting or disagreeing with her, and just coming up with counter arguments to everything that she was saying about it. And that was just my daily thing. And I'm pretty sure that by maybe the second day, everyone there could tell that I was not a believer. But the interesting thing to me, and we were studying the book of Mark, was that through the Bible study, I got to know and see Jesus in a way in which I hadn't seen him before. And I learned a lot about him, and I discovered that he and I shared a lot of the same beliefs about people and society, and he's someone who's very much driven towards equality, and he's very anti-religion, and he's an anarchist, and he's very anti-establishment and anti-government taking control of our lives and stuff like that. And it really drew me closer to him. Now something, and I don't know why this happened, but it did. On the second last day of the camp, I woke up and I said, Lord, if you're real, give me a sign. I don't know why I did this, but I did. And actually, I was singing DMX's Lord Give Me a Sign. Lord Give Me a Sign, like that song. I don't know why I was singing it, but I was, which is pretty funny. And so I went to my my study that morning, and the chapter we were focusing on was Jesus teaching the Pharisees about signs. So I figured, just a coincidence, right? No big deal, it's whatever. Then we had our first break of that Bible study, and I went out to go and use the bathroom. Now for the first time, it was only me going to use the bathroom, which usually doesn't happen. And so I went out and I decided to take a little shortcut through the woods. And as I was walking through the woods, I saw this big black bird flying towards me. And I was terrified. I thought it was going to attack me. But it landed on a tree near me, and it just looked at me. And immediately I felt this sense of like peace. And I knew that this was something, but I didn't know what it was. So I went, and at lunchtime I told Tian what had happened, and she was all like, what do you think this is? What does it mean? And I'm just like, oh, it's nothing, don't worry about it, like, it's no big deal, it's whatever. Now later that night, it was our final night there, so we were having a little bit of a celebration. And as we were doing our whole thing, one of the other women had come through, running into the room that we were all in, and she was screaming, she said yes, over and over again. And so I turned to Tian and I asked her, oh, like, what's going on? And she said to me that one person who had been coming to these events for quite some time had just met God. And I said, well, this sounds like a marriage proposal. And she said to me, it kinda is. And so after we were finished the whole worship thing, and we went outside, we were talking, and I asked her, did you bring me here to convert me? And she laughed, and she said, I thought that I could introduce you to a friend of mine who would be a really good friend to you. And she asked if you could pray for me. So we went to a secluded area, and she prayed for me out loud. First time in her life she's ever done that, I believe. And it was very emotional, it was very heartfelt, and it's very powerful, and I thanked her for it. And then we went to our campfire, and we were hanging out a little bit, and we went our separate ways for the night. And I went back to my room, and there were like 6 or 7 people staying in our room, right? And I took a shower, and I came out, and for some reason, I felt like I needed to pray, which is something that I hadn't done in a very long time, and quite frankly, I didn't know how to do properly. So, I had told one of my roommates, his name is Nathan, that I wanted to go pray. And he was insisting that he go with me. He was just like, I'm going with you, I'm going with you, I'm going with you. And eventually I just gave up. I'm like, fine, okay, just come with me. So I went up to the crow's nest, which is the place where I was doing my study. That's what the building is called. And I'll never forget it. I went into the room, and I went down a couple of stairs, and I sat at the end of one of the stairs, and Nathan was sitting at the top of the stairs, and I sat, and I had my knees up, and I had my hands on my face like that, and the first thing I said was, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I have no idea what I'm doing, I don't know why I'm here, I feel so bad because this guy's just here waiting for me, I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know what happened exactly, but all I remember is God saying to me, Brandon, I'm here. And when I heard that, I just got up, and I walked over to Nathan, and he asked me, how do you feel? And I said, I feel great. And he said, do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? And I said, I do. And he prayed for me. We went back to the room, and we woke up all the roommates, and they all prayed for me. And the next day, I felt so different when I woke up. I couldn't really sleep that night. It was so funny, and like throughout the night, Nathan was up, and he was like constantly was asking me. He couldn't sleep either, and he was just asking me the whole time of like, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk? And I'm just like, no, it's okay. We went for breakfast, and I actually don't usually include this part in the story, but I feel like I should say it. There was another person there. I don't remember her name, and I had told her what happened, and she was very happy about it. And then I saw Tian, so I went to go sit with Tian, and it was just us two sitting together. And I told her what had happened, and she had like a million emotions on her face at the same time. She did not know how to process what I just told her, and it's the funniest thing I've ever seen, but also like one of the best things I've ever seen. And everyone found out, and they were all super happy for me, and it was great. And that was the first time I met God. And a month after that, the week when I came back from that, I found a church, which is the church I currently go to, New Life Christian Church, and I went to that church, and I loved it, and I've been going there ever since. But that's not where the story ends. Of course, I don't know if you all know the verse where Jesus talks about the different seeds being planted, and one of the ones he talks about are the flower that just immediately sprouts up, and because it has no roots, it just wilts. And that was me. I went to church, and I started going to church, and I was like super into it that summer, and like I loved everything, and I was doing everything you're supposed to do. But by September, October, when I started my master's, I wasn't really gelling with a lot of the stuff that the church was talking about, and I was feeling distant, and I'd stopped going to church, and I'd stopped doing all the things that I was doing before. I had stopped praying, I had stopped reading the Bible, and because of that, I got put into the worst depression I've ever been on in my entire life. And I'm talking about every single day, I would wake up and I would have suicidal thoughts. And everything that I do, I would think of different ways in which I could potentially kill myself. I'd be driving to school to go to the subway station to go to school, and I would think, I could just get into a car accident right now and do it. Or I'd be waiting for the subway and think, I could just jump in front of this train right now and do it. And it'd be thoughts like that all throughout the day, all throughout my master's, really, how I felt that way. And because I felt this way, I was so isolated, and I didn't spend time with anybody else. I would just go to school, or when I was working at school as well, go to school or go to work, and then just come back home and be by myself. And for that year, that period of 1 year, I barely spent any time with my friends, I barely spent any time with my family, and it really hurt our relationships, unfortunately. But even though that was the worst time of my life, that was the worst time of my life. And it wasn't until about August 2015, and I told my friends Tian and Nadia again about what I was going through. And Tian was in town, and Nadia was available for once. And I went to go meet them, and we went to a park near where they live. And we decided to have a prayer meeting. Now, for those of you who don't know what a prayer meeting is when two or more people sit together and they focus on one specific thing, and one person is sort of leading the prayer, leading the person who wants to pray about something specific, and having them pray intently and figure out what really is going on. So we sat down to have this prayer meeting in the park, and Tian was leading this prayer. And so she said to me, I want you to picture yourself in the presence of God. And so I closed my eyes and I visualized myself in this big, garden. It's massive, just grass everywhere, and there's one tree. And it's an unusual tree. It's shaped like a broccoli, like a giant broccoli. It's really weird. And so I go up to the tree, and Tian says, Can you get up the tree? And so I'm going around in circles for a while trying to find a way up this tree. And I can't find a way up this tree. I'm struggling. Finally, I see a branch, and I'm able to pull myself up and get up on there, sit on it. And as I'm sitting there, the sun comes down from the sky, and it lands, and it's a person. And at first, I don't recognize this person, and I'm scared, I'm terrified. But then, soon after, I realize that this person is Jesus. And he calls to me, he tells me to come down. So I jump down, and I approach him cautiously, and my Tian asks me, is there anything that you want to say to Jesus? And so I say to Jesus, why have you forsaken me? Why have you let me go through all these things? Why am I suffering so much? Why am I dealing with all of these problems, all of these issues? Why am I so depressed? Why am I so alone and lonely and going through everything? And he was just looking at me. And then Tian said to me, is there anything that Jesus wants to say to you? And Jesus said to me, why have you forsaken me? And when he said that to me, I started bawling. I just started crying. And I told him, I'm so sorry. I never meant to go away from you. I never meant to be apart from you. Please forgive me for everything that I've done. For stopping everything that I did, for stopping being close to you, for being so sinful, for everything that I was doing. I'm so sorry. Please, tell me what I can do. I'll do anything to be in your good graces. Just tell me. I want to be with you again. And he said to me, Jesus said to me, all I want from you is to love me, to know me, to spend time with me, to talk with me, and to be with me. That's all I want. Nothing else. And that really spoke truth into my life about knowing really what I needed to do in order to be with God. And it isn't really some huge convoluted way and a whole bunch of rituals and rites that you have to do, but just knowing Him and being with Him and spending time with Him and learning about Him and loving Him and having that relationship with Him. And He embraced me, and He said His goodbye, and He left. And I woke up out of this prayer meeting, and we were all crying. It was very emotional. And the crazy thing to me was that they were crying as well, Tian and Nadia, but they had also seen everything that was happening at the same time that I was seeing it. So they were there as well in the garden, which is super crazy. And that was the second time in my life that I had met God. And both of those times after I had met Him, He had healed me or cured me of my depression, of my severe depression. He got me out of that state. And that's not to say that I still don't deal with depression from time to time. Of course I do. But He's there to help me through it and help me get through it. And at the times when it's really bad, He's helped me through it, and He continues to help me through it. And the reason why that I wanted to tell you all this story was, yes, one, now you know where I'm coming from and how I met God and how I went from an atheist to a Christian, but also why I feel like I can speak on depression, because I deal with it, I've dealt with it, God has saved me from it, and I still deal with it, and I know how to be with God and to get through it and work with it so that I can be healed of it again and be good again, and how to live through that and still be a good Christian and still have a good relationship with God. And so for any of you out there who are dealing with something similar, just know that you're not alone and that there is a way to be healed from that. And I've been through it. I've done it. And for any of you that are having any issues or any problems and you want to speak to me, please reach out in the comment section below. Our email's in the description. You can reach out to us. We definitely love to talk to you and respond. And for any of you who still may be somewhat skeptical of this whole thing, I completely get that. But just know that there is a way, and you can be healed. You can be better again. And I want that for everyone. And this video was really designed for me to let you know where I'm coming from so that I can make more videos like this in the future and be able to really talk to you and help all of you through all of this, through the lessons that I'm learning, through how God wants me to help everyone. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed my story. Please leave a like if you liked it. Tell us in the comments if you want more videos like this, or just talk to us and tell us how you're feeling and how you're doing. And just thank you for watching. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed my story. God bless.